Color me surprised. Silent Night, Deadly Night was not what I expected it to be. I expected a sort of film that knows what it's going to be, but also not be very good. I felt like it was going to be a very throwaway film, and the actors in this were going to be okay, but I'm just there for the kills. That sort of B horror grade movie. And yet, this film tries to do something different. So, let's talk about it. A child witnesses his parents' murder by a man in a Santa suit. Years later, as an adult, he dons a Santa costume himself and embarks on a violent quest for retribution against those responsible for the traumatic event from his childhood. IMDb once again gets it very wrong. I like that this film knows what it is. It's serial killer with an axe in a campfire, that sort of B horror grade movie. Then it also is a supernatural bits to throw in with very interesting lore that makes it easy to follow, but also doesn't insult the viewers to go. If you haven't seen the originals or the remakes or whatever versions that they are out there, you're not going to be scratching your head going, I don't know what's going on. But it does kind of just jump in. You get the initial kind of what's happening, and then we jump for future forward into our main protagonist wearing the Santa suit, and you kind of have to play catch up as to what's going on. Although the film very cleverly gives you a bit of exposition when needed through flashbacks, but for the most part, it just treats the viewer as an intelligence and goes, you can figure this out, it's not that hard, which I appreciate because a lot of these films like to dump massive amounts of exposition. And then we get to the fun parts. Obviously, the killing, the gore comes from the producers of Terrifier 2 and 3, but don't let that make you not go and watch it, because if you thought Terrifier 2 and 3 was too much body horror for you, that's not what this is. There is certainly some gore. A lot of the time, the camera would be just off panning, or you won't see the actual physical blows. You'll just hear the effects, and then you will see the aftermath of it. So it's not going to be for those die-hard gruesome gore effects. There certainly is gore here, and there's a wonderful scene in a barn that, those scenes where you're just like, yeah, those people gotta die. This film does something where you expect the film to be one thing at the beginning, and then you kind of know that from the perspective of the killer, and you think, okay, so bad guy eventually is going to get caught, and stuff's going to go wrong, but there's going to be a bunch of kills. That sort of is the film, but it also shows you the why. Just like Dexter, the TV series, shows you the why as to why the serial killer is killing serial killers. You have a reason to root for the killer here, and there's a scene in a barn that is just fantastic that I really enjoyed. And if that's the way they're going to go with future films in this series, if they get more, they could, I guess. I think that would be a lot of fun. We have performances here from Rohan Campbell as Billy Champman that I think he did a really great job at doing less as more. There's a narration that goes on in this film that makes sense because of the lore that they've established in the film, that works to help guide or help the viewer understand some of the stuff that's going on. And it's also quite creepy, but that's where the sort of comical bit comes in with the narration inside of a certain character that makes sense to drive the story forward narratively. There's a sort of romantic interest with Ruby Modine, who plays Pamela Sims. I think she does an interesting job at being that girl that's just not quite altogether, a little bit off hinged, and works well against the character of Rohan Campbell, who's playing Billy Champman. I think they work well together on screen. There are some great gore moments, but because the film knows what it is, it can play with the lore and do some unexpected things. It can have some supernatural elements in there and also have you rooting for the killer at the same time. This film, I have to say, I expected to go, yeah, that was fine. I didn't expect to come out going, I'll definitely rewatch that. So I think this will be a fun watch with pizza and friends. You can laugh and try and guess what's going to happen. Mostly get what's going to happen and guess certain elements, but you won't mind it because you'll be rooting for those things to happen. And when you've seen the film, that line of dialogue that I just spoke makes sense. So let me know your thoughts and feelings. Did you have a favorite kill? Have you seen the original? I know a lot of people think the original's great. Some people think it's not that great and quite boring. this surprised me. I'm going to give this 3.75 Nicolas Cages out of 5. Not quite good enough to be a 4, but it is definitely great for a Christmas horror romp that might go on the TVs around the world on circular fashion for those that, like to go back to watch your favorite Christmas movies, and especially if they're comedy horrors. Talking about which are your favorite comedy horrors for Christmas time? I would go for something like Fat Man. Fat Man's quite good. I have my classics that I really enjoy, but Christmas comedy horrors, I would love to know your lists in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.